This may be our last good night together.
Last good night together, he said. It's okay. I love Chris Christopherson. Probably my favorite songwriter in United States songwriting history. There have been some good, like Willie Nelson, the Bob Dylan, Billy Joel, one of my favorites too, and Paul Simon in the Garfunkel. But hey, it's Boris, and it's good to have you back. We last time we were telling a story about the Burkett McInturff, and we had well, J.S. Moore showed up, and he told us about his relationship with the Burkett. You want to hear part 2? Okay, well, I turn it over to Jason. Okay. Some people think that I'm just crazy for doing this, but I don't know. There have been some really important people in my life that have influenced me, and Burkett was definitely one of them. You know, my Papa Judd, who my first book was about, when he passed away, it was my senior year of high school. I had just enlisted in the United States Army, and he died 2 months after that. In December of 1991, he passed away. He was on Long Island, actually, inside of a house, and pulling wiring out of the wall. And it was raining really hard outside, and the roof collapsed, and it killed him instantly. But anyway, maybe a week after Papa Judd died, I was staying at my Mama Moore's house because Papa Judd was the only man that she ever loved, and she was having a hard time like all of us. We were all in shock that we lost Papa that early. But I had this really vivid dream at her house. And at any rate, when I woke up, I had this immense feeling of relief, but I could not remember what the dream was. And some 13 years later, I had the same dream, very same dream, and I remember everything about the dream. And that's when I actually started writing Understanding Apples. I wrote the first 5 chapters of Understanding Apples that night, and I knew the name of the book, Understanding Apples. For whatever reason, it just came to me that way. But you know, losing Papa Judd that way, writing a book about him, it led me to Burkett, and Burkett was something really special, somebody really special. Anybody in town you talk to, some people, they don't have fond things to say about Burkett because maybe they were on the other side of the court, and he represented, and he was a really good lawyer. He often represented the criminal element that way. So, sitting across from Burkett, I'll just put this on because Burkett was the biggest UT Vol fan probably in the state of Tennessee. You would not believe the information he could give. He told a story one time to me about Johnny Majors and how they were going to win the national title, and then I think he dropped the ball. I've got it written down. I didn't put it in a book, though. I will one of these days. But he just, all these information, you could just ask him, well, what about that year they played Florida? And he could tell you almost every play if he was having a good day. But anyway, so we come to Burkett, and sitting across from him, he would talk a lot about his childhood. And in his childhood, he worked very hard growing up. He was set to the fields very early on, but his mother and his mother's family encouraged him because he was smart to really pursue his education as well. But his hard-working father, Ed McInturff, encouraged him, go out in the field, son. You're going to be picking strawberries in the month of May. You're going to be plowing the river bottoms, and we're going to take it all this year, which means all the land that they had, they were going to plant and get all they could from it. A lot of farmers didn't do that. They'd let some fields be barren, and I don't know a whole lot about farming, but to hear Burkett telling it, he did know a lot about it. But I picked up this statue. I was at the Colonial Heights Pharmacy at a gift shop, and it was right after Burkett passed away, but they had me doing a book signing, and I just saw this little thing here, and I thought, that's Burkett when he's a little kid. Just a little kid holding a cup of coffee, wearing a kind of a business suit in a way. And I put that with Burkett's painting, one of the paintings that I've got that Joe Kilday did of Burkett after Burkett passed away. It's displayed with it. I miss him. So anyway, so we're sitting up in his office, and the first story that he tells me, this is the first story that he tells me. It's called Kicking Mule by Burkett McInturff, and I'm going to do my best to just do a Burkett impression, if that's okay. Burkett would always have glasses. And I think my cat here is laying on the glasses right now. I'll just let him stay there. The first book I had come out about Burkett was called Picking Strawberries, and this was the cover. You see the beginning of it there, but see the little boy right here? And you open it up, and you see just how small he was. This is a basketball team from 1929, and this is actually Burkett and I in that picture there, outside of the Janmar, one of our many meetings. We met at the Janmar, we met at the Piccadilly, and we met in his office, and just anywhere we crossed paths. It was always a good thing to see Burkett. Okay, so this is the first story he ever told me. It's called Kicking Mule, and I'm going to try to do it in Burkett's voice. No man can suffer too much, and no man can fall too soon, if he suffer or if he fall in defense of the liberties and constitution of his country. And that's Daniel Webster. Kicking Mule by Burkett McInturff. A cold day in November, we were still gathering corn in that 40-acre of river bottom, and also in another creek bottom of 15 acres. So when he was helping me himself, why, he'd just say, "Come on." So I was told where to go, and this time, however, he said, "You get them mules and come on." This was my daddy talking. My primary work was in that 40 acres of river bottom, and Daddy had been busy working the creek bottom. Now, I waited an entire hour down there before I realized I was in the wrong place. Got that wagon turned around with them mules, and then I saw him a-comin'. He was a-huffin' mad, with his short legs a-stomping toward me that cold November day. He'd about froze to death, and he said, "Why in the hell don't you listen, son? Go where you're told." Dad was never one to apologize, and he'd kick me right hard, knock me to the ground. There was only one explanation for him, and that's the one that he believed. Now, to me, Dad was good-looking and all that I admired. Just this summer, I was up in Chicago and bought me a new blue suit and a John B. Stetson hat like the one Dad wore. I totally admired the man, though he did drink a whole lot, and he would fight, too. He and I had good luck selling cotton. Now, my part was to sell, to help load, and to unload, and whenever he sold one thing, he'd certainly buy a bottle of liquor. So he was always about half drunk. He got that damn truck stuck in the mud one time, and Daddy pressed the gas pedal down till that truck got deeper and deeper into mud. The truck got red hot. I reached over and turned the switch off. Once hot like that, when the motor's cut off, the engine has to be cool and can't be cranked again for a few hours. Oh, he was mad. He looked at me furiously and half drunk, and he began screaming at me, "Well, stick your nose in my business." His temper had set him off. Well, my mother heard the screaming from inside the house, and she came down to see the commotion and put a stop to it. Well, about that time, she stepped in between us, and he had rared back to hit me, and he swung and missed and hit her. I was 15 or 16 years old at that time, and he was a strong man, but I was stronger than a damn mule, too. I'd been working since I was 4 years old. Defending my mom, I launched out and I walloped my daddy and I knocked him to the ground. Then I decided not to hit him after. I was proud to have sent him to the ground. Sorry I didn't whip him like he'd once beaten me, but I sure was glad that I didn't. And at the end of my stories, I always have a suggested song to listen to. And this one was actually, suggested listening was "God's Gonna Cut You Down" by Johnny Cash. It's been a pleasure sharing this story with you again, and this is part 2 of my Burkett McInturff series. Join me next time, and I'll share a little bit more of our interaction together, and I hope to just make this kind of a continuous event, because he was something special. If you don't want to wait on the videos, I would recommend going to the Kingsport Library, and you can check out The Big Mac Book by J.S. Moore. That's the bigger biography about Burkett. Or you can start off with this one. They've got these at the Haggle Shop. It's called Picking Strawberries. Joyce Grills has these. I think they're $8. The Big Mac Book is going to cost you $13.95 at Colonial Heights Gift Shop. Or you can get it at I Love Books in the mall, and I'm pretty sure he matches the Amazon price, I believe, there. Dr. Glenn Moody does. If you want to also get some other Burkett McInturff stories, this and here's something special. It's the 4th book in the Understanding Apple series. It's called Mending Walls. Now, there's stories in there from Burkett, from Pal Barger, from Buster Brown, from Wanell Rotifer, some really good storytellers in here. Herbie Williams tells some stories in here. All kinds of people. I know I'm forgetting somebody. Bill Green from the Janmar tells some stories in this book, and Charlie Hunt at the Body Shop on Wilcox. Charlie's a fine storyteller. But I would like to thank y'all for tuning in, and I would turn it over to Boris, but it's good meeting with y'all. I hope you have a good evening. God bless you.